this is something that the manager clearly wanted. Do you think it was he just thought Martin Zubimendi was that good? Or do you think he thought, I just need this? Because what it means now, as it stands, is that I don't think Endo's going to play. I just don't see it. So you're looking at a double pivot maybe. I know the manager said it's not 4-2-3-1 to Chris, but it kind of is from what I've seen. You're looking at McAllister, Gravenberch, Jones, Szoboszlai, Trent. Like nothing there screams out like the ideal option for that role. And yet we're being told that they might not be going in for somebody else. I don't know. I can't get it.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
that's right.
And
I can't square it whatsoever. I was literally stood. This is a signings sort of topic more generally now. We were obviously at the games over the weekend. I was stood 4 foot away from Virgil van Dijk, the captain of the football club, saying that he wants us to make signings because of the demands, the extra football. We know the Champions League's got loads more games in this year as well. He felt like the squad needed more bodies in it. And then you get this news. So Martin Zubimendi's not coming. Okay, fine. You can understand that. You can make sense of that. We've already spoken about the loyalty he has, which clearly goes beyond his aspirations, his ambitions in football. Fine, whatever. But you can't know all that and understand all that. And then 3 weeks ago, I think, when it first emerged at Liverpool, had sort of identified a mystery number 6 because that was our priority position. So how's it gone from being our priority position to one lad saying, no, I don't fancy it, to all of a sudden not doing anything? Like, nobody can convince me that there aren't alternative options out there. They might not be as ideally suited as Martin Zubimendi. They might not be as readily available as Martin Zubimendi. They might not even be as cheap as Martin Zubimendi, if you want to call £51 million cheap. But there has to be an alternative. You've just said it there. Wataru Endo clearly was fine for what Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool midfield demanded. He did a job. I think he exceeded most people's expectations, actually. Certainly mine. But he doesn't suit what a slot wants to do. That's obvious. We've seen it in the pre-season already. He's not the perfect fit for that. He might still stick around the squad and do a job every now and then, but he doesn't suit it. You've just named some names there. Gravenberch had a really good hour against Sevilla in that role. I think him on the half turn, him taking up them clever spaces, actually does make a little bit of sense, but it's an hour. It's against a pretty poor Sevilla side in a pre-season friendly. Like, it's not enough for a sample size for us to really go, yeah, he's the one, sort of nail colours to that mass. So Trey Nyoni's even been discussed. As we're going to speak in a moment about Stefan Bajcetic, like, Trey Nyoni's 17 years of age. Like, I've been the biggest advocate of Trey Nyoni and his ability and his ceiling, his potential for a long time now. And I watched him obviously last year a lot and think he's boss. But if we're honestly factoring him into this conversation, that is insanity. Like, I can't get to grips with it at all. The initial shock, disappointment, sadness that Zubimendi won't be coming was one thing. But then to follow that up with reports that we're not actually pursuing another number 6, that's the bit that I just cannot get my head around.
What I would say, it's not uncommon of Liverpool
to do this and then...
No, to say, we're not just going to panic. Endo was actually, Dan, the exception to that rule. Usually Liverpool don't like doing that.
We have a track record of doing that, though. I'd push back on that because we've done Artemelo, Ben Davis, Ozan Kabak.
That was horrendous.
But we panicked.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm talking about money. I'm talking like spending proper money.
Okay, yeah.
And going, we're just going to get whatever. Because they've always waited for
the right guy.
They waited for Konate, they waited for Van Dijk. Now they have changed their mind as well. Salah wasn't first choice, but broadly Mane wasn't first choice, so they can do it. But it's more what Chloe said before. The fact that, it was this one fella or nothing. Do you think they've been a bit naive, Chloe? Like Richard Hughes?
But they've been naive. But the thing is, though, it was Lavia and Caicedo last year, so it wasn't. The problem is that they've made this error several times now on the bounce, which has got them to this point, to the point where it literally is Zubimendi or no one, because there was Lavia and there was Caicedo, and both times Liverpool didn't get it over the line for whatever reason.
Richard Hughes would argue back that wasn't him. To be fair, he would.
But that's as if I'm asked. You've come into the job.
I agree. And also, it's been obvious for so long now that 6, that deep line midfield or whatever is the key area whereby we can make an upgrade. Yeah. So Richard Hughes would have been well versed on that by the time he got through the door.
I know, I 100% agree. What I'm saying,
I'm sorry,
it's worth clarifying.
It's not him, but at the same time, you've now came into this situation. So you're part of Liverpool, and to not get this over the line, and look, it's different because he said no to big clubs, but if he initially said yes, there is a time frame here where you cannot let that player have a week to think about it. Too much time to think is not good for you, who's trying to get a lad who does not like to leave this football club to leave.
I suppose on that one, Chloe, it's worth mentioning, and it came out yesterday with the Paul Joyce thing. you had to get his 100% yes, because
the buyout clause.
Well, you've got to give him the money.
Yeah.
You've got to give him the £51 million isn't technically going to Real Sociedad. It kind of goes to Zubimendi or an agent, and then he has to go and pay it. So if you haven't got, you can't give the guy you can't give him £51 million unless you're nailed on. I agree with your point on there. I think the second part is the most relevant one. They've put all their eggs in this basket. Yeah. And it's Arne Slot now who's got to pick up the pieces. Unless, like, he might go, listen, I'm absolutely sound with what I've got. But the fact that he binned off Endo and clearly this was the main one, makes you suggest he probably isn't thrilled. And again, that isn't ideal for a new manager, new head coach. Coach have to come in and be settling already. Like, I think, again, I'm reading the comments here, and the owners are getting all kind, and I understand it. I actually think this one, my opinion is this one's on the sporting director and that kind of thing, is that we've got to the point where it's August 13th and there's nobody else. Like, again, I don't know footy well enough, but I can't believe the fact that there's only one ball-playing midfielder in the whole of Europe who can make Liverpool better, who's achievable. Yeah. I struggle to get my head around that club.
Yeah, and look, if FSG were actually going to put the money on the table, I mean, 51 million to us.
In one go, they were going to do it.
Exactly. So if the money was there, it is up to the others to convince this lad to come to Liverpool. You've got to, and also you've got to make sure that it's 100% certain, pretty much, so you don't get this backlash, so you don't look bad. But Liverpool haven't managed to do that. To think that there's not another number 6 out there who can do this is a bit mad. And Adam Wharton is the only one out of the list of names that people said that I think would really like to have, but that is 100 mil on a lad who's still young, who you just never know what's going to happen with him.
I imagine he'd want more of a sample size on him, wouldn't
yeah, exactly.
6 months of Premier League footy, not even that.
It's not even that. So
I don't think he's a good player, but Liverpool's MO is usually they'd want a bigger sample size
for that sort of money.
For a record.
But this is the problem. You've not got the number 1 target over the line. Now everyone knows you want a number 6. You're in trouble, because even the list of names that we've said there, if Liverpool were to go in for any of them, let's say Ederson, Atalanta are going to be sat there saying, right, so yeah, his prices just went up by another 15 mil because we know that you desperately need a DM here, and we've potentially got the best of the rest.
Absolutely. We've got a comment here from Param Veer Singh, and he says, Steve, it's not me, but he said, do you think signing someone who's almost another stopgap, i.e. 2 years in DM's position, would be good for the overall squad health, given how many fielders we have there? And I agree. I don't think Liverpool should do another Endo. Like that, if there's no one else, my response would be, is there no one else? I'm not saying Liverpool should sign a stopgap. No. I'm just saying, like, they waited for Van Dijk because they knew they were going to get Van Dijk, and they waited for Konate because they knew they were going to get Konate. They're not going to sign Martin Zubimendi. He doesn't want to play for us. Like, he doesn't want to be here. He wants to stay in Sociedad. Absolutely fine. I understand it. Lovely place, mountains, tapas, whatever they've got. But whatever that report, the PowerPoint presentation was. Right. But that's the difference for me, is that I'm not saying sign a stopgap would be my suggestion, but again, I don't know enough about all the number 6s around. We've got a stopgap. The stopgap exists. He's here already.
And we've got the young, talented one as well. For it's worth. We have a conversation about him and what that means in a moment. But what we need is that the finished article might be a stretch. So I think Martin Zubimendi a specialist, who suits the style, who suits the system. That's what we don't possess, and he's in that sweet spot age-wise, whereby he's got enough experience under his belt. He's got enough of a sample size under his belt. We know plug and play is what I'm getting at. He can come in, he can do a job from day one. That's what we don't own right now.
And he raises the floor of Liverpool, but also the ceiling of it, because he's still, Zubimendi at that age was 25, still entering the peak years of his career. So it's one of them where I understand, because I don't have the names off the top of my head. I don't know who fits the style of play, who's good enough, really.
I think was it Chris and Josh done a look at the 6 options, am I right in saying? I was in America, but I'm sure we did a video on it.
Yeah,
and I think I remember they were saying, like, he's good, but, or he does this, but. The only one actually, I think Josh in particular was keen on, was actually Zubimendi. But you are right, it isn't the easiest thing in the world to go and do, but they've left themselves in a position. Now, worst case, it's going to be a square peg in a round hole, unless this is all BS and they are going to sign someone. We've had a couple of super chats that I'll get to. I didn't want to miss these out before we crack on. Rolando says, I don't think we should panic about a 6 when we need to re-sign our top line talent, and we have loads of midfielders who can play at the 6. Do you think we've got loads of players who can play as a 6 then?
Yeah, it can, but going into a season with sort of patched up options, I mean, it's become apparent, it's become clear that Arne Slot isn't convinced by the options he has at his disposal. That's why we pursued Martin Zubimendi for a week. So
I think we're going to see Gravenberch in there for a while.
Well, and so do I, because again, I come back to it, I thought he looked really impressive at the weekend, but he's never done it before for a full season. You know, he's still very young himself, he's still relatively inexperienced, you know, who knows. And also, you know, if he were to pick up something, or if somebody else was to pick up something, he has to move further forwards. It's just square pegs round holes, you say.
The thing about Ryan Gravenberch is, like, he had a really tough first season. Are you really willing to put that pressure? Because look, by the time the season comes round and everyone's in the middle of it, every mistake that Ryan Gravenberch gets, it's going to be on him. It's not on the fact that Liverpool didn't get Zubimendi over the line, have an actual, you know, player who fitted the style, who was more experienced there. It's now on Ryan, who's trying to make back a year's loss of time because he was just not favoured in Jurgen Klopp's system. And now he's coming to this one and he's going to be talked about possibly the most because he's in a position that Liverpool have needed to upgrade for the past 3 years.
Well, just on him, I think one of the problems in the Bayern Munich time he had was the fact he was deemed not good enough or not capable of playing in that role in double pivot. So I'm not entirely sure how that
things change. Though, like players can get better,
and I really like him, and I think he does have the skill set to do that. But there are still so many question marks hanging out. And going into a season whereby we're looking to bridge a gap, not sort of stand still, and you can't stand still in the Premier. This is Liverpool standing still. If anything, potentially going slightly backwards.
Yeah, the other thing is just like what I mentioned earlier. Who knows what business we need to do next summer? If you add trying to get a world-class number 6 into there is a point where, and look, FSG might not spend that much money, might not give you the money to go and get a Salah replacement, potentially not a Trent replacement because I think Conor Bradley can be that, but a backup to him. You know, where's Virgil at that moment in time? Is Luis Diaz already gone? Is he on his way? Like, and then you also need a number 6. You leave yourself a lot of work to do, and a club that don't spend like the likes of Manchester United, Man City, Arsenal in recent years, we don't do that. So you leave yourself a lot of work to do. And once again, if City and Arsenal improve on you this season, the gap to try and close that next season's even bigger.